Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 1134 for the 23rd of March. And today is 24th of March, and these have all the frontline changes as per this moment of recording, which is actually almost most of the day of 24th of March is already gone, in Ukraine at least. So we're going to start off with the Kursk front, and commanders, do remember to register yourself at the light. And also and for those that are not subscribed, do subscribe. Even if you're subscribed, check below, make sure that you're not unsubscribed by YouTube, because they're known to do that. So over in the Kursk front, where the Kursk front, Russian forces continue to try to push out the Ukrainian forces over at Gogolevka, Oleshnya, Goevo, as well as Gorna. As I mentioned in the previous SITREP, Goevo is back, so this is not captured by the Russian forces. There's also no intelligence to suggest that Goevo is captured by the Russian forces. So just want to take note of that. Previous suspicion is just purely because the Russian Defense Ministry did not mention Goevo. Over on this northern part, on the Gordievka sector, is very interesting. The Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported that the Russian forces has advanced into the Sumy region towards Volodymyrivka. And so we will definitely take a look at this, because this could be potentially a new offensive, but we will wait and for more information, because tentatively it is not clear if this is really happening. It's only reported by the pro-Russian sources. So, but from the previous history, Ryba did also break the information about the Russians pushing into Novenke, Zuravka, and all turned out to be true. So this could potentially be the other one. So just to draw out the salience that has appeared inside the Sumy region, these are the few. And this is the new one with the Russians trying to push into the Sumy region. So the Sumy front is definitely appearing and developing. Soon we're going to rename this Kursk into a Sumy front. We'll see how this goes. Tentatively not yet. So we further south, over at the Ukrainian attempt into the Belgorod region, the Ukrainian forces have some success in this region. So they are still on the continuing to attack into Demidovka. Demidovka, as well as attack into Prilisie. There is Russian reported shelling at Oroide. However, the Ukrainian forces is geolocated in Demidovka, confirming the Ukrainian presence inside it, and there's a possibility that they are fully captured by the Ukrainian forces. According to the pro-Russian sources, Demidovka is pretty shelled out, and there's no way any forces can be positioned inside in the defensive position. According to the Russian sources, they say that the rear position, all this forest, is still under Russian control, according to the pro-Russian sources. And they say that the town itself is not defendable at this moment. However, Ukrainian forces are inside already. They have entered into Demidovka. This is today's information, latest information. So so we shall see how this continue to develop. There's a chance that Demidovka is entirely under Ukrainian control, but we just have to wait and see. So otherwise, the Russian Defense Ministry also did mention some shelling in the rear, including Marine, Oroidi, which is I mentioned just now already, and Novodemitrivka, which is pretty much not totally out of the place. So maybe there's another Ukrainian force that's gathering around here, maybe trying to do another attack from another sector. As the Russian forces is now all drawn into this area here, this could be a diversion. This could be a diversion where the real push is actually in another direction. That's a possibility. So now we are at a crossroad in the Sumy, Belgorod, Kursk region, where the actions of the two different forces will determine how the next few months will play out. Will the Ukrainians be on the offensive into the Russian territory, or will be the Russians enter into Ukraine to create the Sumy front? So we shall see how this continue to develop. So we move on to the next front line, is over at the Kursk front. Kharkiv front. So this Kharkiv, and so at Kharkiv front, nothing particularly new, special or special is happening. Fighting is reported at Voschansk. Geolocation, but this one is a bit more interesting. At Udi, a TOS strike hit Ukrainian positions at Udi, just off Shevnozoria. This strike is a TOS strike, a thermobaric missile strike, and this is actually very interesting because usually the Russians would use this prior to a potential ground push. So I'm not sure if this will turn out to be a ground push, but it is just interesting to see thermobaric missiles being used on Ukrainian positions at Udi. So let's see how this will play out. Maybe it's a nothing burger. So that's it. Voschansk, of course, as usual, the Stalingrad of Ukraine war, totally flattened city, and fighting is still in the rubbles. Nothing much to talk about there. Over at the Voreshna front. At the Voreshna front, there is some major updates. Over in the northern sector around Kamyanka, the Russian forces have taken yet another bridgehead. They have penetrated through and taken yet another bridgehead. This one is pretty deep. It is around 1.5 kilometers. Yeah, it's 1.5 kilometers deep from the river, and this is a very, very strong salient, just like the other one. And the Russians also have taken some forests on the southwest of Topoli. So this is now threatening Kamyanka in a pincer. A potential pincer on Kamyanka might actually going to happen, and to say the pincer, of course, is just drawing on the map. If you look at the roads leading in, the road here is just pretty shitty. There's a good road here where the Russians could potentially already is nearby. They could potentially cut it, and this force around here could already cut this road with fire control. The only road left is this probably a dirt road in the northwest of Kamyanka. So the Ukrainian forces is now being threatened on both sides, with the Russians is likely to pincer them from two different directions, and of course a potential river crossing while they are at it. And the Ukrainian forces might be pushed out of Kamyanka in the near future, but we will continue to monitor to see the situation, how it goes. Definitely Topoli is now very secure. There's no more main roads leading to Topoli. The only road leading to Topoli is now under fire control of the Russians. So that's all from the northern flank of the Voreshna front. Over at the southern flank of the Voreshna front, Russian forces have been geolocated inside Voreshna. They have retaken most of the northern half of Voreshna with various geolocations confirming Russian presence in this northern half of Voreshna. So fighting is reported in these regions here. This is reported by Ryba, where they have said that the Russians have made some progress in this sector as well. So let's wait and see how this continues to play out over the Battle of Voreshna. Otherwise, there is fighting reported at Zapadne, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So maybe the Russians are planning to re-secure the town again after it's getting really threatened by the Ukrainian forces. So that's all. North of Kupiansk, there is a geolocation of a Russian airstrike. Alleged Flight 1500 bombed the northern edge of Kupiansk, whereas on the rest of the Kupiansk front, we only have fighting reported at Kupiansk and Petropavlivka. So otherwise, the rest of the front line is pretty quiet. And moving on to the southern flank. At the southern flank of Borova front, not southern flank, at the south of the Kupiansk front, at Borova front, there's fighting reported at Nadia, Shikivka, Zarizove, and Bohuslavka. So this is pretty much generally looks like more or less the same strategic situation, although we haven't seen Shikivka being mentioned for almost a week now. So that's something, but otherwise nothing particularly stands out to me. So let's move on to the next front line. And this is the Liman front. This Liman, and this is the Liman front, and we cut into half the northern sector and the southern sector. In the northern sector, we have the Russian forces attacking at Novomikhailivka, Nove, as well as Zelena Dolina. So this one on its own, of course, nothing much to talk about. This one is pretty much the same strategic situation, and with severe lack of intel, we do not know what the hell is happening in granular details. Over in the southern flank, we have fighting reported at Yampolivka and Zarishny. So that's all. Zarishny have a different name. It's also called Kirov. So just in case you need to know. And there's another place which the name changed. It's another place. I'll show you later in the Zaporizhia front. Over in the Siversk front. Siversk front usually is very lethargic because the Ukrainians have very strong defense around here with the Russian, and geography-wise favors the defender. So the Russians have very hard times around here so far, and the fighting is now still reported at Horivka, Velkomokanyamsky, and Ivano-Darivka. Nothing new, but at least we know that the offensive is still ongoing. Similarly, due to operational secrecy, we do not have any intel that we know of. Nothing is being reported. And we go to the Bakhmut front. This is Bakhmut, and this is the Bakhmut front. We have the northern flank, central flank, and the southern flank. We go to the northern flank first. So over in the northern flank, we have fighting being reported over at Vasyukivka again. We haven't seen the Russians do make any real progress at Vasyukivka. Fighting at Minkivka and Orikovo-Vasilivka is also being reported. These two are reported by different sources. Orikovo-Vasilivka is mentioned by the Ukrainians. The Russians mentioned Minkivka. So it's probably a general offensive in this sector. And we shall see how this play out. So far, the Ukrainians have very strong defense around here. The Russians don't have any progress as of yet. Central flank, we have the fighting reported at Rakhorivka, Markove, as well as Chasivya. This is a bit newer, Markove and Rakhorivka. Markove, the last report was on the 18th. Rakhorivka, the last report was on the 13th. So there is some previous attempt, but this area here is even more heavily defended. Like I said, I never favored the Russians trying to push through this region because it's strategically very unimportant, at least to me. But the Russians want to try, they can try. Yeah, not my problem. So Battle of Chasivya, still have not concluded. So that's all from the central flank of the Bakhmut front. Southern flank, there is no reports, and we move on to the Torex front. Torex front, this is Torex sector, and this is the New York sector. So both of them is Torex front. At the Torex sector, we have the Russian forces continue the same largely similar situation, fighting at Druzhba, Dilievka, Torex, as well as Shebenivka. There is geolocation by the Ukrainian. Actually, geolocation is by me. I'm the one who did the geolocation. This is actually a strike, airstrike on a building inside of Torex. So there is this. Yeah, you see my magic. So this building here in the industrial area was have a massive explosion. It was hit by an airstrike, and this is actually shown by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry or the Ukrainian Army, where they reported that the Air Force successfully struck Russian forces in the shelter at the basement at Torex. So they claim that they have taken out the assault group as well as UAV operators. So that is their claim. I wonder what aircraft carry out the strike. I have some suspicion that it might be an F-16. So because a lot of the Soviet fighters that the Ukrainians has largely been attrition away, and the F-16 seems to be the most fresh of all the aircraft right now. Let's see. We do not know. If it's F-16, maybe they might boast about it later. Tentatively, they did not. So, yeah, who knows? So that's all from the Torex front, Torex sector. In the New York sector of the Thorax front, Russian forces have been geolocated in the north of Alexandropil. So let me zoom in. So in the northern sector of the northern region of the Alexandropil, Russian forces have been geolocated, and I believe the attack came from the east. According to other mappings, they may draw it coming from the south. But if I draw it from the south, means that the Russian forces have captured Alexandropil, which I do not want to commit to such an information. So I'm drawing it coming from the east. This would also corroborate the reports of fighting at Pentomelanivka as well as Alexandropil at the same time. So Pentomelanivka is mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and the Russians mentioned Alexandropil. If we put both reports in context together, then most likely the attack is coming through the center of the two settlements, and this might be the reason why there is a divide between the description. It might be both Pentomelanivka and Alexandropil. So this is the reason why I would draw it this way. It makes more sense to me, and yeah, so hopefully that satisfies you as well. And if you are satisfied, press the like button, and of course subscribe. If we are trying to go for 100,000 on the main channel, so do subscribe. And of course, the war channel, of course, is also very important. Is half of what the main 50 over 1,000. Let me see what is the subscriber count is now. Is 53,000. So yeah, I mean it's important to also subscribe, because this will encourage me to continue to build up the channel and report more wars, because I can't report so much based on just one channel. It's going to be difficult. So anyway, moving on to the Pokrov front. This is Pokrov. Pokrov is here, and this is the Pokrov front. The northern flank, northern flank or northern sector, Minograd sector, Pokrov sector, as well as the southern sector. So Pokrov, no. So we move to the northern sector. At the northern flank of the Pokrov front, we have fighting reported at Tarasivka, Verdiane Druhi, Nova Potovka, as well as Yelizavetivka. Well, the major update in this sector is over at Verdiane Druhi. At Verdiane Druhi, Russian forces has been geolocated inside the building at Verdiane Druhi, and this means that the Russian forces have actually secured and captured Verdiane Druhi, and this helps us to validate the Russian claims and invalidate the Ukrainian claims. So the Russian forces is now confirmed to have captured Verdiane Druhi based on this geolocation, which matched their declaration by the Russian Defense Ministry of the capture since a month plus ago, 1.5 months ago, and the 13th of February. So Verdiane Druhi confirmed capture, and geolocation is reportedly a Ukrainian attack on Russian positions at Verdiane Druhi. So yeah, that's what it is. Otherwise, the Russians are pushing towards Nova Potovka again. So let's see. Over at the Minograd sector. At the Minograd sector, we have fighting reported at Mariolubivka, Lysivka, Novopalivka, as well as Pokrov. Nothing particularly special about here. As I mentioned before, this is always a very static front line, so no, don't pay too much mind to it. We move to the Pokrov sector. At the Pokrov sector, we have fighting reported at Zvirove. Geolocation of Russian forces shows the Russians have secured the railway at the south of Zvirove, where I'll show you in a while. I will zoom in. Fighting is reported at Kotline towards Oleksievka. So, towards Serhievka. Sorry, I remember wrong. Towards Serhievka. Fighting at Udashny, Uspenivka, and Novoserhievka. So geolocation of Russian forces at Uspenivka as well. So we're going to zoom in one by one. At the Pischany region, the geolocation is basically at the railway line. Basically confirms that the Russians have secured the eastern flank of the Pischany. Pischany is still contested. As far as we understand, the Ukrainian forces still have a strong foothold in this position. And with this flanking movement by the Russians, they could potentially go down the railway line, cut off the main road, and thus able to secure the rest of Pischany by destroying the logistics. So that is a possibility. There is geolocation of FPV drone hitting Ukrainian infantry in the region. So that is, as before, very fierce fighting around here. There's another geolocation of FPV drone strike hitting Ukrainians inside of Pokrov. And over at Usmanivka, the geolocation is the Russian forces appearing in the south of Usmanivka. This confirms the Russians have advanced in the south. And so the battle of Usmanivka continues. And yeah, so that's all from the Pokrov sector of the Pokrov front. In the southern sector, we have the Russian Defense Ministry announcing the capture of Strypny. Fighting is moving towards Bodanivka and Troitsky. However, there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces in the region of Nadievka, and one of them, south of Nadievka, confirmed that the Ukrainians have retaken some lost grounds in the southern flank of Nadievka. So we're zooming in, you'll see that Ukrainian forces is geolocated around here. These are armored vehicles of the Ukrainian forces. So which means this area here must be under Ukrainian control. And previous Russian advance in this sector is now invalidated as the Ukrainians have retaken the position. So a very good move by the Ukrainians trying to flank the south of Nadievka. So we shall see how these continue to move. If they are successful, they could potentially pincer Nadievka and take it back from the Russian forces. So let's see how this play out. It would be a very rare tactical success by the Ukrainian forces, which looks like a decent battle plan. So yeah, haven't seen one from the Ukrainians in a long time. So far they have been trying to best through. I think the last one that was pretty good is the Kursk offensive. We move on to the Andriivka front. So this is Andriivka. Of course, this is Andriivka front. Fighting is being reported at Andriivka, Konstantinopel, and towards Rozliv. Otherwise, nothing particularly special about this sector. We don't have much coming out from this area here. So we just have to, assume the worst. So I changed a chair. So, and I'm sitting on something like a semi-standing chair. And I'm definitely not standing. And yeah, my butt hurts. No. So over at the Velika Novosilka front. Velika Novosilka, and this is the Velika Novosilka front. I typically cut it into half, north and the south. So in the northern half of the Velika Novosilka front, we have fighting reported towards Oradny, fighting at Skutny, Vasily, shelling at Koma, as well as fighting at Shevchenko. So it seems like a return of the fighting in this sector. We shall see how this goes. The Russians have been stuck at Vasily. They didn't seem to be able to break through. Maybe due to the defense line around here, where the Ukrainians have a very strong defense. So this is part of the first main line of defense for the Ukrainians in this sector. This is the first Ukrainian sector, then the second one, and then that's it. There's no more. So this, yeah. So sorry, this is actually the second line. The first line is actually at Velika Novosilka, and that's gone, So yeah, this is the second one. So if the Russians break through, then there is a semi-third one, and that's about it. And then GG, well played. So in the southern sector, we have fighting reported at Novosilka and Novopil. Nothing particularly new about this area, so that's all. We move into the Zaporizhia front. So this is Zaporizhia, and this is the Zaporizhia front. We cut it into three sectors: the Khoyapole sector, the Orkiv sector, and the Kayamsky sector. Yeah, I do not know how to write K. Yeah. Okay, it's from now on K. It looks like this. This K. Okay. So over at the Khoyapole sector, there is mention of Vysoké. However, this is actually Chevrolet. The Google Maps suddenly changed his name again. They changed it yet another place, and I was like, I remember Chevrolet. Where he went? I was like, what the hell? So I have to search, and then like, oh, so he changed name to Vysoké. So Russian forces attack in the region of Vysoké or Chevolny, and there is fighting reported at Huaypole. I wonder if this is something real, or is this just a diversion? Let's see. Let's wait and see. Typically, Zaporizhia front is a front of disappointment. They always has a promise of something happening, but nothing ever happens. Except that the offensive over in the Kamyansky sector seems to be still ongoing. So the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned about them attacking Amala Tomashka. So this is happening, probably coming from the Novoporovska region. But yeah, probably nothing burger as well. And then over at Kayamsky, there is fighting reporter at Kayamsky itself. The other main lines is not mentioned. So I have no idea what the hell is happening. So like I say, no, Zaporizhia front is the front of disappointment, failure. So that's all from the Zaporizhia front, and we move on to the Kherson front. Kherson front is a bigger failure than the Zaporizhia front. Tell them no, you also don't know. Shelling is reported at Antonivka, Sadove, Pontianivka, and Tokarivka. And I tell you, no point. Useless. Failure. So that's it. So this is the summary for the day of 1134 for the 23rd of March. And so you know the drill. Thank you for watching. Happy birthday to you. If you are birthday today, I almost forgotten. I forgot one day. I think I forgot about it yesterday. I was rushing for time yesterday and was like, either I'm running very low on energy and then after that I was running for time. So it's like I think I forgot yesterday. So happy belated birthday to you, to those that are having birthday yesterday, and I'll see you guys in the next update.